All right, I want to read you a quote here from my next guest because I think it is so spot on. For too long, Washington has allowed billions of taxpayer dollars to flow to programs that haven't been reviewed or reauthorized in years, sometimes decades. The USA Act, which, by the way, stands for Unauthorized Spending Accountability Act, restores accountability by forcing Congress to do its job, examine these programs every 3 years, determine whether they are effective, and ensure that federal funds are being used responsibly. This is a common sense, necessary step to rein in wasteful spending and return real oversight to the American people. Well, the good news is the USA Act has been passed out of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. And it was written by Kat Cammack, my next guest, Congresswoman from Florida 3. Kat, good to have you back on the program.
Absolutely. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
You know, I don't know well, I take that back. I was going to say I don't know anybody that would disagree with that comment that Washington has allowed billions of taxpayer dollars to flow to programs year after year without reauthorization. But there might be some people, because they're getting rich off it, at my expense, at your expense, at the expense of American taxpayers. This is a really important bill you've gotten through, at least through committee.
Yeah, and we're really proud of the progress that we've made thus far, but it's still got a long way to go. And to your point, Steve, I mean, you would never think that someone would be in disagreement that, hey, maybe we should be auditing these programs. Maybe the committees of jurisdiction should be authorizing and doing their job so that, you know, people will feel confident about the money that's being appropriated to all these agencies and programs. But what we have found is that nearly 50%, 49.77% to be accurate, of all of the agencies and programs that the federal government spends money on have expired authorizations or were never authorized by Congress in the first place. And that's pretty staggering when you think about it. It's like, exactly, it's like, holy crap, what are you guys doing up there in Washington? And that has been the frustration, is when you're living under the continual round robin of continuing resolutions and omnibuses and cromnibuses, you're just rubber stamping spending, and no one's actually going through and being like, hey, this program from 1983, that was designed for that 1 year and we've been funding it ever since. Where's that money going? Nobody's talking about that. And so that's what this bill addresses. It basically says, hey, Congress, you got to do your job. Committees of jurisdiction, you have to sit down and you need to line by line audit these programs and these agencies and actually say, yep, this is a good thing, we're going to put money towards it, rather than just sitting back and letting the appropriators rubber stamp spending for programs and agencies that were created by executive order in many cases. And
Sure.
That's what's so crazy to me, is we're dealing with this now.
I thought executive orders couldn't create spending. I thought it always had to be Congress. You said some of these were not authorized at all. That's the part that caught my attention. Not authorized at all, and yet we continue to fund these projects, whatever they may be, and wherever the money may be going, and it doesn't seem that we have a good handle on that. How could we get to that point in the first place?
Well, I mean, a great example is the EPA. That was created by executive order. It was never authorized by Congress. And that was one of the things that, you know, kind of keyed me in on this was, wait a minute. This can't be the only one. Once you find one example, you start digging, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. And so when you sit back and you think about it, you're like, okay, how much could this realistically be, you know? $892 billion is what we, the taxpayers, are going to shell out for programs that have not been authorized by Congress. And most of these expirations of programs or agencies that have received an original authorization, their repeated audit has expired over 20 years ago. So for 20 years, we've just been going forward.
$892 billion. Yeah, $892 billion plus interest, because we borrow money to make those payments. And so it's really probably over $1 trillion when you add the interest on top of it, isn't it?
Yep, 1,000%. And as we all know, the interest on our debt, our $38 trillion national debt, that has outpaced what we spend on defense. So this is a big step in really righting the ship and cutting spending. And really, this is the way that you can doge government in the most effective way, through Congress.
Agreed. I want to shift gears a little bit. I got a couple of minutes left here. Kat Cammack with me from Florida.
Yeah.
You're calling on the Treasury to protect the United States medical innovation and products from Chinese IP theft. We know they do this every single day. We bring in hundreds of thousands of Chinese students, among others, and you're trying to get the Chinese theft of our medical progress stopped. How do you do that?
Well, they have a litany of creative ways in which they are undermining American innovation, stealing our IP, et cetera, right? And this is an example we saw with medical devices where they being the Chinese, they will, through some of their Hong Kong subsidiaries, they'll invest into startups here in the United States. And then what they'll do is they will block American investment. And then they effectively say, okay, because we can block that investment, we're then going to bleed the company dry. And they block out the investment necessary to keep the growth going. And then once the company is basically defunct, they steal the technology and take it back to mainland China. This is a scenario that I've seen repeated over and over and over again. And CFIUS, which is responsible for keeping an eye on all this, really has been behind the eight ball. And so we're just, again, bringing attention to this because when you have your largest foreign adversary continually finding creative ways to undermine American innovation and development, and there's real impacts. There's American jobs at stake here, but more broadly, this is technology that is keeping our economy going, but it's also saving lives. And at every turn, we're seeing where the Chinese are looking to undermine American interests.
Everywhere you look. Everywhere you look every day. Kat Cammack, always appreciate you giving us an update on what you're working on, and congratulations on the USA Act. I think that's an important step forward. Hopefully we can get it through the Senate if they can get their act together.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it, Steve. Have a great day.
You too. There you go. If they can get their act together, that's always the question. I'll take a break and be back. It is the Steve Gruber Show.